Good morning. My name is Scott McCutcheon of Sovereign Studios. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to show off the July 2026 update of Vanalytics, particularly related to one specific feature that I added to it. So if you're watching this video at all, you obviously are a Final Fantasy XI player. And if you play Final Fantasy XI, you are almost certainly aware of GearSwap. GearSwap is an add-on. I forgot who created it. Doesn't really matter. But it allows you to write Lua scripts that swap your gear in and out of when you take actions in game. This is all great, but it's very complicated. And the fact that you now have to become a Lua programmer in order to play Final Fantasy XI well is absurd. Right? And I understand all the limitations and the historical reasons why this is a thing and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is Final Fantasy XI alienates a huge amount of players by basically creating this construct where you have to understand Lua. If you go dig around Final Fantasy community forums and read about people's gear swaps, like the people trying to play this game are not all computer scientists or programmers. Some of these people are struggling really hard to get their gear swap files correct and maintained. So something I really wanted to tackle with Vanalytics was a way to reduce the friction of adopting a tool like GearSwap to play Final Fantasy XI so that you can play the game more optimally with less effort, right? So with that in mind, I have created a feature in Vanalytics that I call Blueprints. If you're familiar with Unreal Engine, then you already know what I'm talking about. The Unreal Engine Blueprint system is a visual node scripting editor. It allows you to drag nodes out onto the graph and visually build logic that creates, gameplay functionality. So that's a really cool feature in Unreal Engine, but it could also, the same concept can be repurposed to generate Lua. There's no reason for you to have to write raw Lua anymore if you had a visual node editor that allowed you to build the logic specific to Final Fantasy XI and generate the Lua for you. So I've built that feature into Vanalytics. So I'm going to show that to you now and demo that to you today. We're going to do a real basic blueprint for my thief character, and I'm going to show you how that works. So Vanalytics.sovereigns.com. Go here, check it out. If you're already a player, install the Windower add-on, and you can take advantage of all the cool character tracking functionality in here, as well as this new gear sets feature that I'm about to show you. So if you come over here, you'll see this new tab called Gear Sets. We released this last month, and this allowed you to go and create new gear sets for your character based on gear that's already in your inventory that has been synced through our Windower add-on. If you wanted to, you could click Snapshot Current Gear, and it'll start creating a gear set of the existing gear that you have. But I have added a new feature that allows you to import your gear sets from an existing GearSwap file. So if you're a Final Fantasy XI player, chances are extremely high that you already have GearSwap files for a number of your jobs that you have spent hours meticulously curating, right? And you don't necessarily want to lose all that work. So I've built sort of a best effort import feature for your GearSwap file. What this will do is, and I'm just going to use my own thief GearSwap file, if I can find it again. I don't remember where I put it. I think it's over here, GearSwap, Sovereigns, Thief. And then it'll try to auto-detect the job, but you can pick one. You can really only have one blueprint per job. You can't create multiple blueprints. That's just how it is. But what this will do is this will try to basically do a best effort import of your GearSwap file. What it is going to do is pull in all your gear sets. What it is not going to do is populate the logic for your gear set or your GearSwap file into the blueprint. More on that later. For now, you'll see that I imported the file. You'll notice it found 26 sets. 3 items that it couldn't parse and didn't know how to resolve, and then 44 that are in my file but aren't currently in my inventory, synced through the add-on. So there's a few items that I'm currently missing for some of these sets, which means I haven't been doing a very good job maintaining my GearSwap file. Either way, you'll notice it did a pretty decent job at a lot of this, but you can check and uncheck these if you notice that it tried to pull in a set that you're not interested in keeping, or whatever, if you just didn't want so many sets. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to keep those 2 idle sets. I'm going to keep 2 TP sets. We'll get rid of evasion and TP damage taken. I'm going to keep a weapon skill set. We're just going to focus on Rudra's Storm right now. For this demo, I'm only going to show you like building with Rudra's Storm. So something you'll notice about this import, and I think I should probably fix this, but this SA and TA, it creates a new like sneak attack and trick attack gear set, which could be what you wanted. I don't know. It depends on your gear, but that's not exactly what I want for right now. I don't have SA or TA specific gear sets really. I mean, I have a few, but it's fine. We'll show you how this kind of works. And then like different sets for job abilities, which I'm not going to bother with right now. And then there's a few other sets. I am going to keep this one, this Frenzy set. This is, even though it's not in my inventory, this is actually a set for the Frenzy Sallet. And if you know what that is, it's, you know, an item that can wake you up from sleep, effectively poisoning you, right? So if you get slept, you put this on and it'll tick your HP down and wake you up. So I'm going to keep that in there for now. And we'll just import these 11 sets. So cool. I got 2 idle sets, 2 TP sets, a weapon skill set for Rudra's Storm. Let's get rid of that one. I don't need that generic one. A sneak attack and a trick attack set, and then some other just random sets. I am going to kind of clear this up so it just makes a little more sense real quick. And we're just going to call this sneak attack. So this is my like sneak attack setup. I think it's fine. We'll do the same thing here for Rudra's Storm, or the trick attack version of Rudra's Storm. For me, I think they're basically the same set. I didn't do a lot of effort trying to get new gear, but for you, whatever. This is the concept. All right, cool. So now that we have a set of sets, we've imported from our existing GearSwap file and done all this. Now we can open the blueprint editor. So if you may have more than one job, but if you click this over here, click the root of your job, you'll notice this blueprint editor kind of lights up, and you can come into the blueprint editor from here. So let me get rid of this stuff real quick. Here's our blueprint editor. So if you right click anywhere in here, you can left click to bring yourself a selector, right click and hold to drag and pan, and then you can just right click somewhere to bring up this menu. Notice that we have a whole bunch of different node types in here that you can drop down. These triggers are probably the most common ones you're going to use. So things like precast, aftercast, midcast, right? Status change, buff change. Like these are all things that, you know, are super common as GearSwap functions. So these are all there first. Let's look at a couple other ones that we have in here. We got some for pet events. Here's some of the logic conditionals for like branchings and or nots. You can do comparisons between stats, actions, pet states, world states. The world state's actually kind of interesting, I think, because you can do weather elements, day elements, Mog House, what zone you're in, you know, different elements and stuff for weather, and all that stuff's cool. We do have some different values for HP percentages and TP percentages, stuff like that, moon percentage, comments if you need to put a comment around there, and then we'll talk about the script and setup nodes in a little while. There's also this print node in case you just needed to print something to the in-game chat. Either way, very large collection of nodes. It should cover probably, I would estimate, probably around 90% of the logic that you would probably generate in a standard GearSwap file. There's obviously going to be some missing gaps, some things that I didn't consider while building this tool. There are almost certainly complexities in some of your GearSwap files that I just didn't account for, or maybe can't currently support. And if that's true, by all means, let me know, and I'll see what we can do to fix up our blueprint system. But let's kind of go and show you more or less how this works. So. All right, so I've dropped some triggers in here. There's a couple other things that I tend to like to do real quick when I'm setting up my GearSwap files first. And the first thing I like to do is, obviously, when you start at the top of the file, you add like includes or maybe a command to switch your macro book. So that's what this setup node is for. So this is just going to, right now, this is just a raw Lua node. You're going to write raw Lua into here. And it's going to emit this out at the top of the file. So if you needed to add an include or something like that, in my Thief GearSwap file, I have this command that I send out here. You notice I also have this include organizer lib, but I don't think I'm using that in the file, but we'll bring it in here anyway, just to show you. But what this command does is literally just swaps my macro book in game when this file loads. That way I don't have to go actively switch to my Thief macros when I switch to Thief. But you can pretty much just copy this stuff one-to-one, just like that. Just go dump that there. So now your setup file load is ready to rock. You notice it's going to run the include and then run that send command when it loads. There's another thing I like to do, and you can use this mode for this. So like, there's an option in GearSwap that allows you to cycle gear sets, right? So that's what this is for, is the mode option. So in this case, you could use it for something like, your weapon cycle node. And we can go and add some sets. So in this case, we'll do, TP accuracy and TP treasure hunter. Sure. We'll just cycle between those two sets. You'll notice that this is going to start kind of getting interesting when you pick the sets. You'll see where it says add layer. And what that layer is there's a function in GearSwap called set combine that allows you to basically add multiple sets to combine them into one final set, right? So if you have like partial gear sets, maybe you have a gear set that only has hands in it. You have another gear set that has feet, right? You can add layers now to combine those sets to create a final set. So that's what this add layer does. We're not going to deal with that right now. I'm not going to show you anything like that for the time being. But yeah, cool. So all right, so now we might want to add some other logic into this, right? So we might want to do something like, say, if we're engaged, let's go ahead and equip a gear set. So if we engage, we're going to automatically switch to our accuracy set. If we're idling, we might do something similar and just say we're going to idle in our default set. So real basic, there's your two nodes for engaged and idle. Something we might do also when engaged, so you might do something more like this. So like, let's say we create a branch node. And branch node is basically a conditional. So on this condition, it's either true or false. And we're going to say something like, let's compare our HP percentage, right? And for now, we'll just say, yeah, if it's less than 25%, we're going to go and equip our Frenzy Soleil. If that's not true, we're just going to go back to our TP accuracy set. So there's a little bit of, example of what a conditional might look like in our blueprint. As a interesting sort of like organizational setup, you can add a comment here. So we could say something like, Frenzy Soleil equip is what I want. And then you can go and kind of like drag this over. So now we have a comment that allows us to better organize our blueprint and see what we got going on. What's some other things I could show you? So we could do like weapon skills, right? You know, which are fairly straightforward. So in this case, we have a weapon skill and we say, you know, Red Wrist Storm. I had a weapon skill, Red Wrist Storm. So cool, right? Yeah, we can also do things like sneak attack, trick attack, right? You know, if we kind of do the same thing. So in this case, you know, we might have like, okay, if it's sneak attack, if the buff changed to sneak attack, you know, then we're going to equip our sneak attack set. And if it's not, maybe we do another conditional and say trick attack. All right. We equip our TA set. We could just do something like that. And so we add a little comment to recognize this as SATA control. SATA control. Cool. So that's more or less the blueprint. Very basic one, not a lot to it, right? You can get something very complex. These nodes are generally infinitely chainable in a lot of ways. And you should be able to replicate most of what you probably have in your GearSwap file. Anything that is in your GearSwap file that is too complex to replicate as blueprints, you can drop a script node, just a basic script node, and just write custom Lua in there. You will have to wire it up, you know, into a, you know, into an event trigger in order for it to become, you know, compiled. You know, when the file gets generated, but you know, that's fine, right? Which I think we can just do this, yeah. So like you could do like script and do some custom Lua before you equipped your frenzies delay, right? So something like that. But yeah, cool. So that's more or less blueprints. When you're ready to you know, use it in game, you can just click this generate GearSwap file, and then this is all the GearSwap that it produced. You'll notice here's all of our sets generated from our things. It got our setup at the top of the file. Yeah, it got our setup at the top of the file, included all of our sets, created our precast status change, buff change functions, and then here's our self-command weapon cycle function. So all that's in there. You're all good. You can download it here and copy it over yourself if you so choose. Otherwise, there is a command now in the add-on here. If you do VA blueprint pull thief, it'll automatically download the GearSwap file from the server, install it onto your client, and restart GearSwap in-game automatically so that you don't have to do anything else. So you can just run this command and it just copies it over. You don't even have to know the folder paths anymore. Assuming you're using the standard folder paths for window or add-ons. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Very cool. GearSwap blueprint editor that I think turned out pretty good. I hope you guys find some use out of this. A couple other or another really interesting feature that's coming out in Vanalytics, just you know, and just real quick, that's actually already available today. If you come and, you know, check out you know, anything in our item database, you'll notice that we now have AH data for items on the you know, on the auction house. So this is now available for every server, every public retail world. It works just like FFXI AH under the hood. It's doing the exact same thing, querying the real retail search servers, and displaying this data. So all that's in there now. Enjoy that, and I hope you guys are enjoying Vanalytics. Be sure to leave a comment in the forums, or go tell me if you want me to add something, include something, fix something, update, whatever. I love hearing the feedback. So thanks for watching. Happy adventuring, and I'll see you all in Vanadil. Thanks.